All right. So today we have Casey on the call. I feel like most of you, if you do not know Casey, you should get to know Casey. Casey is one of the buyers for Faster House. So if you have any wholesale deals you want to sell to Casey, definitely reach out to him. He is your person. But I've known Casey for, I don't know, a lot of years. Started off as a Magnolia agent and then moved over to Faster House, but still is a Magnolia agent and just has a lot of years of experience as a phenomenal traditional agent, but also as an investor. So Casey's done several rehabs now. And when I think of Casey, I always think of like nice deals, like nice houses, like a little bit more higher end. I don't know, Casey, if that's how you feel about yourself, but I feel like that's like what you do really well at.
Thank
And
you.
just building a team so you don't have to be as hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I kind of fell into the higher end portion. I
Yeah.
like the, average everyday deals, but it just kind of stumbled in my lap that's where the good deals are. So
Well, I'm excited for everyone to see the deal, your most recent flip, and just kind of hear the story. So I'm gonna stop talking and pass it over to you. But then if people have questions or comments or thoughts, I feel like feel free to jump in, but we'll also have plenty of time at the end too for you guys to ask questions.
sounds good. Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks everybody for having me on the call today. Everybody talks about it. Suzanne talks about having years experience as an investor in success. And, part of the time I get imposter syndrome. It's like, what am I doing to deserve to be here? But at this point, I think there's one thing I know how to do, and that's to rehab and put out a quality product. So that's what they wanted me to talk about today is my most recent rehab. I am going to share my screen here and jump on. Let's see. Can everybody see this? Can I get some thumbs up? Everybody see okay, cool. Awesome. So 13535 Sunset Ridge. This is, before I get to the before photos, I'm just going to jump really quickly to this slide. And if you see me not looking at the camera, it's because I've got a big monitor over here and that's not where my camera is. So bear with me. But how did I find this deal? One of the niches that I work in this industry is in probate. So I have built a business to help personal representatives going through probate, executors go through probate, and also make the life of probate attorneys a little bit easier. So this is a probate attorney that I had worked with in the past who had reached out to me and said that this guy wanted to move forward. The one thing I'm going to say about probate specifically is if you operate in this area, the deal is in the follow-up. This deal I followed up with for 13 months before it was ready to rock and roll. So I kept bumping the probate attorney and he kept yelling at me, Casey, he's not ready yet. He's telling me he's not ready. But then I also kept bumping the personal representative, usually about once a month. Just, hey, I'm still here. What's going on? And I would get nothing. We're just kind of working. We're just kind of working. In probate specifically, the executor or the personal representative has an entire life, right? They've got a job, they've got kids, they've got spouses, they've got everything else that's going on, sports. And now all of a sudden they've dumped an entire estate upon this person. So the biggest thing about probate is if you're working in this space, time and time drag happens a lot. So you got to keep up with it. I think as a buyer for Faster House, I can tell you that that's where the art of the deal is anyway, is just in the follow-up. So make sure those leads, even if I talk to somebody and they say, hey, this is under contract, I'm like, great, when's closing day? I'm going to follow up with them almost every week until they close, because you never know, something happens. When Suzanne jumped on a call, I forgot who it was, and I can't look on the list right now, but they had said that the deal fell out. So you never know what's going to happen in real estate. So before I get into the particulars, I just wanted to take a point and say, make sure that you're following up, because this deal took a long time to come to fruition. So 13 months is how long from the first contact to when I actually got a contract signed. The basic info for this house: it was a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath house. So 3 bedrooms on the main level, 2.5 baths on the main level, a bedroom and a full bath in the basement. This one was a larger house, 2,229 square feet on the main level, plus additional about 1,300 square feet of finished in the basement. And this was a pretty unique neighborhood. This was the smallest house on the street. So an interesting kind of fact there. So purchase price, I want to talk about this briefly. So you guys, as you know, I work for Faster House. Our job is to buy houses for a living. That's what we do. We help people get from one chapter to the next. I went back to my team and we all put our heads together as far as how much we think the ARV is, how much we think we have room on a rehab budget, and where our entry number is going to be, where our buy price is going to be. And on my team, they couldn't justify more than like a $535,000 ARV. And I was the only person at this point who had been in the house. Thankfully, at this time in my career, I'm about 10 years as a real estate agent. So I've helped a lot of people buy houses over the years. I kind of know what people like, what they don't like as far as functionality of the house, so on and so forth. I just had a really good gut feeling that this house was gonna be marketable. And the numbers really couldn't support it because there weren't a lot of comps to support it. This was a really interesting neighborhood. There was only, I think, like 28 or 30 houses on the street. They were all custom builds. So the numbers didn't quite add up for the team. And our buy price on the Faster House side came out to like, I think it was like 260 something. And so in this case, I deal with a probate attorney. I go back, I tell him my number, and he kind of does the negotiating on behalf of his client. And he was like, Casey, that's not going to get it done. And I said, I know that. I feel like we can get more. So I went back to the team and I said, look, am I able to give you a number that I'm willing to buy this house at, and we can back into a deal that way? And leadership said, yep, let's do it. So that's how we came across this $340,000 purchase price number. My initial ARV was $599,900, so $600. That's what I was going to list the house at. And Suzanne, you can even jump in here. When Suzanne was sitting down and running comps with me, she said, Casey, I don't think I can justify more than 550 on this house. And I was like, I've just got a really good feeling. And thankfully, because of the relationship that Suzanne and I have developed, and she knows where I work, so she can come after the money, she said, we'll go ahead and lend on this one for you. FasterFunds let me purchase price on this one. So didn't get any rehab funds, but together we put together an awesome kind of spreadsheet. And like I said, 600 was shooting for a number that I thought was going to be really good, but well within a reasonable figure. So that's that portion. I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to show you guys the before photos. Can everybody see these? We good? Still? Okay, awesome. Okay, so this house, you got the nice half moon driveway up front, sidecar entry. This house was built in the mid 90s. Like I said, custom build. And custom builds are great, right? They're big, beautiful houses. The guy who lived in this house added a lot of customizations himself. So like all of this trim, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or whatever, but all this trim is just kind of like glued on trim. And you can see the awesome stickers above the chandelier here. Highly custom. This guy went nuts. He went bananas. And you know what? It was his house. He can do what he wants. So There's wallpaper here, as you guys can see. I don't know. My mom was a professional wallpaperer and painter growing up. So every
I'm
time
wrong.
I see wallpaper, I've got PTSD. So thankfully I've got a team that takes care of this. So a couple more of the before photos, a great living room. When I walked into this room with all the windows and the skylights and everything, I thought this is the room that's really going to draw people in. Nothing super special right now. Again, you can see the extra trim on the walls there. He just went kind of crazy. And then here's a back view from kind of the fireplace corner back into the foyer. And then over here on the left-hand side with the parquet flooring is the dining room. Now this kitchen, again, we talk about customization. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there are little backsplash tiles all the way around the cooktop. And all the way around the edge of the island. I mean, this guy had time and glue and just decided to go nuts. On the front of the cabinets, let's see if you guys can see this. He took more backsplash tiles, and in the middle of the island, you can see that he just kind of threw them on top. Anyway, I thought that was funny, so I wanted to point it out. But this kitchen with eat-in breakfast area, a lot of open space, a lot of good cabinet space, and I knew that, again, this was going to be a focal point for people coming in. This is going into a hall bath just off the garage. This was the nicest bathroom. I still gutted it. I know that was probably shameful, but laundry room right across the hall from this bathroom. There was a slop sink there, so I got creative. I'm going to pause on that and I'll come back to it. Nice, big, beautiful 3-car garage. Already had epoxy in there, so that was nice. Also a slop sink in the garage. Pantry. Now, this is the dining room looking back towards the front door, parquet flooring, which was apparently a really nice thing in the 90s. I was still growing up, so I don't know why that choice was there. But hey, sign of the times. These bedrooms, nothing fancy about them. Pretty standard. The carpet was in decent shape. I probably could have just steam cleaned everything, but I'll kind of get to why. Here's the hall bath. Nothing too fancy. Again, another skylight. There was lots of natural light in this house, and I loved that. So now we're into the primary bedroom. You got kind of the coffered ceiling there. That was not the seller. That was the seller's cousin who I was dealing with. Nice big closet with wire shelves. Again, nice already there. I decided to change it, but that's how I do it. So here's this bathroom, the primary bathroom. Everybody sees the curtain is balanced up top. There's no window there. It's just hanging out. Like,
Wow.
I don't know what possesses somebody to put it there, but hey, the one thing that I'll say is as a rehabber, the thing that you have to have when walking through homes is vision. If you can't clearly see the end picture when you're walking through, it's going to be really difficult to get there in practice. So you guys, I don't know if you can see this. There's a cord coming out of this wall right behind the spigot or the sink here, and that goes all the way over to the other end. That was a custom installation for him, so apparently he could plug in his shaver on the left. I don't know. Again, lots of craziness here. Shower, nothing too fancy. So now we're going to walk into the basement, and a really cool basement, 10-foot ceilings. Another fireplace down here, gas logs. You've got a walkout basement, the door's on the far side there. And then the far wall with the door, I'll draw attention to that for kind of the afters. So walking through that door, you got some storage here. This is at the base of the stairs. Looking back towards those stairs. The door right in front of us there on the right-hand side, that goes to a little room, and then that's where the full bathroom is tucked back there. But that door that I kind of pointed out right here, I don't know if this was going to be like a mother-in-law's quarters, or if he wanted to do a little kitchenette but never got there, or whatever it was. But I said, okay, there's water here. There's a sink here. We can work with that. So that door in front of us that's open, that goes back out to the main area. And then you can see over here, this empty kind of walkway goes into that extra kind of room, which is this little room here. And then you can kind of see, here's the bathroom on the left, the main door out to the main area, the little walkway to the other room where the sink was. And then nothing too fancy about this bathroom. Lots of unused space over here on the wall. Lots of good storage. The systems were in great condition. A nice Linux unit. Again, more storage. This is the boring stuff, but when I take photos of everything. So you guys are getting a look of the actual pictures that I take when I do an acquisitions run, when I'm running an appointment. So all this stuff, I like to get a really good idea of almost every room, every condition. Here's the fourth bedroom that's in the basement, and that window is clearly an egress so you can get out. And then the open doorway to the right, that goes back out into the main area. This really cool, he had all these pergolas and these walk-through wicker thing. I don't know. Again, I stopped asking questions a long time ago. But this nice deck that overlooked this pretty serene and peaceful backyard. This was almost an acre of land, and it went very narrow all the way down. You can't really see it, but there's kind of a natural fall off past this very last thing down here. So a decent amount of usable yard, but with the rocks and everything, actual play space. And then here's this deck. So if you guys can see, this deck was already replaced at some point. That is the poly material. That's not wood. So the deck was actually in pretty decent shape. I will talk about that in a minute. Had this walkway on the side to go to the garage. So those were the before photos. We are going to jump back into the presentation. So initial rehab budget on this house, I think when I was talking with Suzanne, I was like, yeah, I'm going to try to stick to 100,000. I wound up going through with my project manager, and we wound up stepping it up a little bit. But as you'll find out, things changed. So these were some initial estimates of my rehab budget: flooring 10,000, paint 5 grand, cleanup on the exterior 4 grand, bathrooms almost 12,000, electrical about 15,000, deck and patio 5,000. Didn't have a lot going on here, but wanted to try to give an estimation of my thoughts. So plumbing, $0. On my crew, I had a crew of 4 people who thankfully were just working for me full time. One of my head guys who'd been in construction for 20 years, he did a lot of the plumbing that if we didn't need to pull a permit, he was comfortable doing it. So I had 0 in plumbing here other than materials, but we weren't going to redo anything major. So this was going to be a pretty cut and dry, straightforward part for him. So interesting parts of the journey. That contractor that I just talked about, he quit 3 weeks into the project. So there was his reasons. We had them disagreement. He quit. He took 1 person with him. So I'm down from a 4-man crew to a 2-man crew. I can sit here and whine and cry and be like, woe is me, but the job still has to get done. So we got to figure it out. But that added quite a bit to my rehab budget, as we found out, and time. So crazy stuff is going to happen. That's the one thing that we know in real estate. Electrician short circuit. This wasn't actual electrical work. The electrician that I had hired, who was a referral from the guy who quit, He went through a lot in his life in a very short period of time. And we had walked the project, came up with an entire scope of work. He had sent me a bid. It said he was getting work done we had to do some stuff in the basement. We were due for some drywall work, and everybody knew that the electrical work down there needed to be done by this Monday, this one specific Monday. It had been communicated many times. He sends us a text on Friday, hey, that's not going to be done by Monday. And we were like, what's going on? Come to find out, he had never filed for the electrical permit. He had really never started doing work. And it was just, he went haywire. So I wound up pulling him off of this job. He did actually do some work. He was doing some home runs and things, but when he went through these changes, I had a very frank conversation with him. I called him on the phone and I said, look, I realize you're going through a lot. I've been through a lot in life myself, and I know that when things get hard, work can sometimes suffer. Do you feel you have the capacity to continue this work? And he said, Casey, the work won't suffer. Everything is going to be fine. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yep, everything's going to be good to go. So having that conversation preemptively and still arriving at this moment, it's not very often that I get mad. I'm usually a pretty even keel sort of guy. I was furious. This was just an egregious, like to not even communicate that things aren't getting done anyway. So that was an interesting part of the journey. And the deck of doom. I say that's probably a gross over exaggeration. So I did something differently than I think some rehabbers do on this house. This house was in unincorporated St. Louis County. I know that St. Louis County is a wild card when it comes to inspections, when it comes to occupancy, so on and so forth. I knew this deck because I've been in real estate long enough to look at a lot of decks with crews, with inspectors. I knew that this deck wasn't going to pass muster. So I called St. Louis County and got an occupancy inspection on myself before I started anything. I wanted to find out what I've got to take care of before anything else happens. And at first they argued with me. They're like, well, you're going to do renovations, so we don't need to do this. And I said, no, I own the house. Like, I want you guys to come out and tell me what's wrong with it. I know the deck is going to have an issue, so I want you guys to let me know. So did the occupancy permit, had St. Louis County come out for the construction permit and look at the deck specifically. And we could have probably kept the deck boards. We probably could have just made it work by doing some extra things. But because I was changing the entire feel, the entire color scheme, and I was modernizing everything, that deck was going to stick out like a sore thumb when it came to the overall feel of the property. I'm very much a feel person when it comes to rehab. When I walk through a house that's been rehabbed, it's got to have a flow. I spot, like, if somebody does one kitchen and one bathroom and there's still a third bathroom and it's not done, for me, that just feels funky. It's probably why I can't rehab a house for less than $100,000. But that's how I feel. So I put my mind in the mind of the end buyer, and I say, I want them to be able to move in and not have to do a thing. They can set their stuff down and just live there and enjoy it. So we wound up having to replace that deck. I should say the deck boards and railing and stuff like that. I'm going to pull up the pictures in just a minute. But how'd we do? So final rehab costs. I'm going to jump back really quick. My estimation was $128,456. You guys are seeing this number at the top. I spent almost $200,000 on this rehab, $173,721.15. That's astronomical, right? I could have saved money. I'll get into that really briefly. So that plumbing work that my contractor was going to do, wound up costing me an extra $14,000 in plumbing work. Who knew plumbers were so expensive? Apparently they do. They they work in gold. So plumbing extra. That deck was an extra $16,000 or $17,000 just in decking material and then labor to get it done. So that number jumped up pretty significantly. Now, even though I was rehabbing a house that I thought was going to be $600,000, even though I thought my profit was going to be good, I'm taking the mind frame as a rehabber that my goal, I'd love to make $30,000, $40,000 on every rehab. That's a base hit in my estimation. How do you get in the Hall of Fame for you baseball fans out there? It's not swinging for the fences every time. It's base hits and it's RBIs. 20, 30, $40,000 on a rehab is fine. So even though I'm putting in a lot of money here, my thought was, hey, if I'm walking out with 30 or 40 grand, I'm totally okay with that. Some other investors might be extremely pissed off that they have to spend all this money to just make 30 or 40 grand. But I'm putting myself in the mind frame of I'm building a quality product. I'm building a house that I know that nobody will ever be able to come back and call me because shortcuts were taken. My company name is Redeemed STL. I want St. Louis County that when they see a permit filed for me in the future and they see Redeemed STL filed for that permit, they're going to know and their inspectors are going to know we're going to show up and it's going to be done properly. So I'm willing to spend the extra money to do things right and put that out for the rest of my career and hope that that comes back to me in one shape or form. Holding costs, so interest from the purchase loan, I was able to borrow some funds from somebody that didn't make me pay them on the rehab side, and I did put in about, I would say, 60,000 of my own funds to get it across the finish line. And my listing price, $599,900. Now we're going to go into the final photos. So general cleanup, I'll try to do, everybody likes before and afters. I'm an immediate kind of look at it sort of guy. So we have this big bush over here in front of the garage, lots of littler bushes. And then I don't know if we can see it. Nope. On this left side over here, there's a big green bush. I had that all taken out. And then my guy actually built an entire retaining wall around that left-hand side. We redid the small 2-level retaining wall all the way across the front, new shutters, cleaned up all the bushes, put in a good amount of new rock just to make everything blend. I took off the silly little pergola thing that was on the front door. So kind of a difference. Obviously with the snow, it's a little bit of a difference. This is a good drone shot of the lot. So you can see it's very narrow and there's lots of trees in the backyard. This is the front entryway. So new front door. I went with engineered hardwoods all the way throughout. Shout out to Evans Flooring. If you guys have any needs for hardwoods, the guys were professional, did a great job. I had them install it. All their guys were fantastic, so I highly recommend them. This new front door was a bit of a pain. My contractor who hung around with me, he cussed me a couple of times, but I think that was significantly better than the door. You guys can kind of see in the lower right-hand corner the color of this front door. It was interesting. And let's see, there you go. So standard front door to something a little bit nicer. Again, that dining room that once had the parquet flooring over here on the left, looking back towards that front door. Now looking out towards the living room. You got a nice grand entrance there. Looking back towards the front door. And that's the shot right there. That was almost a perfect vision of what I had in my head when I saw this image when I was walking into it. That fan that's up there, it's hard to imagine. That's an 82-inch fan. That's the biggest fan I've ever considered putting anywhere. I actually looked at the company Big Ass Fans. And that same fan, it was a 78-inch fan, was going to cost me about $1,600. I went to a Metro Lighting, and they have an online version. I found this fan at Metro Lighting, and it was $900. So saved myself a few $100 there, trying to save every penny I could at that point. But this was the vision that I had in my head when I saw it looking like this. So when I talk about vision, this is what I mean. We took the blinds off of the windows, we took the curtains off to let all the natural light in. And it's private. When you're sitting there in this living room and you're looking back out on the woods, it just feels like calm and serene. So that's how the living room turned out, and it was gorgeous. Fireplace, redid that, had my guy throw together a mantle there. The actual gas insert here, it was bronze. You can't really see it from this photo, but just had my team paint it to match everything, so it turned out great. And then this was the other one that turned out from this to this. So I didn't really renegotiate anything, except for, you'll notice there's not a draft hood here, but there's a draft hood here. Why is that? Well, when you're doing an island cooktop or a counter cooktop, you can go with a downdraft option, or you can go with the actual vent. The downdraft option, most of those are like 2,500 to $3,000 for a decent one, is what I was finding. And people complain about downdraft. I don't know that they cook as well. I'm not a chef, so you can tell if there's any chefs out there, I apologize. But I don't think that the hood took away from the rest of the kitchen. And that cooktop I was able to get for $600, and then the hood itself I was able to source, and I think that cost me about $700. So versus going with a downdraft, I was able to even save some money there by going with that. And I went with two-tone cabinets. This was a little bit of a stretch. Not only that, these cabinets are not your typical, shout out to John Morgan, premium cabinets. They have investor grade cabinets, and they have a little bit higher end, and then they have your holy crap package. These cabinets cost me about, I think it was $18,000. I could have went with an investor grade and only been about 10 grand, but I thought on a $600,000 house, I want to step it up just a little notch. So that's what I did here. Came out really, really nice. I was very happy. And then the one thing, this what I call beverage center. You can see over here that there weren't any upper cabinets, and it was just kind of like this used, like maybe desk situation, or I don't know. I feel like this is where I would just throw my mail to never open. But I turned it into a beverage section, put a beverage fridge in there. So now you can have your sodas, your beers, your whatever, just in a separate fridge out of your main fridge. And this could be a coffee station, whatever it is. These shelves that are here, again, shout out to John at Premium Cabinets. These are the exact same material of the rest of the cabinet, so it matched perfectly. And I went with the open glass uppers here, so that if you put nice, glasses in there, you can see it. Beautiful eat-in area. I'm trying to hurry up here because I know I'm running a little long, but primary bedroom, again, those nice hardwoods. Here's what the closet turned into. I did a custom closet. It wasn't super custom. This cost me about $900. And then here's the bathroom. I changed it up pretty significantly. There's that floating tub, which is significantly different than what you see here. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Nice stand-up shower, went floor to ceiling. I used really big tiles in here, made the installation pretty quick and easy. Again, nothing fancy about these bedrooms. Here's the hall bath. Again, nice big tiles, 24 by 48. Here's that garage bathroom. And then lastly, when I showed you guys, I wanted to do something creative. That slop sink was already there, so I knew the water in the drain was already there. I did something different. I did a dog washing station or a kid crapped his pants on the way home washing station, right? This is just off the garage. So if you had a mess in your car on the way home, instead of carting them all the way through the house, hose them off right here. I always say in my rehabs, do something different. Every rehabber is doing the same thing right now. You can go on, and I shouldn't say every rehabber. 90% of people rehabbing houses right now are doing the same thing. White shaker cabinets, granite or quartz, LVP flooring. Just do something different. Do something that sets your property apart from anything else that's out there on the market, and people are going to be drawn to it. And for me, adding this dog washing station was one of those things. Heading downstairs. So this is actually LVP flooring down here. I didn't do hardwoods down here. It just doesn't make sense. But again, Brad Evans at Evans Flooring picked out a really great option that helped me match the upstairs flooring pretty well. And then I took that wall out on the far side of that door to open the room entirely, and then wound up actually building a bar area, complete with a bar sink. So it came out really nice. Fourth bedroom. And then here's that basement bathroom. Again, big tiles, made the install go quick and easy. Here's that brand new deck that I talked about. We just painted the posts and then did all new decking. I did these nice lights, found those off of Amazon for the tops of the post. I think I paid $9 a piece. Just gave them a nice clean feel. And that's it. So that's pretty much the extent of it. Let's see if I've got anything else. So final sold price, I listed at $599.9. Drum roll, please. $670, all cash, no contingencies. They wanted to do inspections just to make sure that everything was on the up and up. So after all was said and done, estimated profit on this was $111,753. So my expectation going in, hey, 40, 30, 40, 50K, that's a great number to get a six-figure flip. I'm stoked about that. I mean, I'm super blessed. Now, you could say, well, Casey, you overshot the rehab budget by almost $60,000. You could have made a ton more money. You're right. I could have. But that's what happens in rehabbing. So lessons learned. Have crystal clear communication and expectations of your contractors. Make sure that everybody's on the same page. Make sure you're checking progress, and make sure there's no ambiguity. Trust your gut. I had a gut feeling about the electrician, kind of turned out to be true. I had a gut feeling about this house. Numbers couldn't justify. Now, if you're just getting started, make sure that you run numbers. Suzanne, she runs more houses than almost anybody that I know because she's doing this all day. Suzanne's numbers were still incorrect, but I had a backup set of eyes that I could trust, that I could know, hey, this is where my numbers are confident. Can I plan for that 670 number? Absolutely not, but that worked out. Shit happens, figure it out. No use crying over spilt milk. If you're going to rehab, stuff is going to happen. You're going to dig into walls. Something else is going to need to be fixed. You're going to get inspectors who are having a bad day, and they're going to make you do a bunch of extra stuff. Learn when to increase a rehab budget and when to tone it down. That's hilarious considering I spent well more than I anticipated, but on a $600,000 house, I felt like that was one to go ahead and do the extra mile on. If I'm rehabbing a $200,000 house, I'm probably not going to increase that. I'm going to probably try to stick to the budget. And my last point as an investor, but also as a real estate agent, quality rehabbed houses will always be in season. If you have a house that is a quality rehab, a buyer can, again, move in, set their stuff down, not have to worry about a thing. That's where the desire is going to be. Buyers are so much more picky than they were for the past few years because they've been beat up. And now they're paying 50% higher on a mortgage payment than they were 2 years ago. So they don't have the extra money to put into it. So again, go the extra mile, put out a quality product, and buyers will be willing to spend their money on your house. That, my friends, is the end of my slideshow. So I'm going to stop here. I had you drinking from a fire hose, so I'll open it up. Any questions, comments, whatever you got?
Well, first off, Casey, I mean, I've told you this several times about this house, but just truly incredible job. I feel like the details that you put into this house is why this house sold 70 grand over ask. That is what makes a difference. People could feel that everything was done perfectly and done well. And I think that touch of like, am I going to put hardwood in the house? Am I going to splurge a little bit more on cabinets? Like, those are not things you're going to do for a $200,000 home. But when you're trying to push price ranges, they do. And I think it also speaks to like knowing the price range, knowing the area that you're in, and rehabbing to that area that I think a lot of people forget about. So I think that's done really, really well. And just, you know, that dog station thing is so fun. And, you know, it makes it memorable too when people walk the house.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the cool things, the tight knit neighborhood, really quick. Sorry, Brian. I said there was only like 30 houses. I had an open house specifically for the neighborhood. So I invited the neighbors over. I said, hey, you guys have had loud noises, contractors, come and check it out. And that dog washing station, almost every single person commented on it.
Did the buyer have a dog?
The buyer did not have a dog, believe it or not.
Have little kids though? To me, it's for little kids.
No, and here's the thing. The neighbors have already said, hey, we're going to reach out to them to see if we can come wash our dog here. So I think the agreement's already in place. So
it's awesome.
How many nights did you not sleep during this?
You know, there were probably a couple, but most of the time, like I said, I'm a pretty even keel guy. I think I woke up once, like in a quick little, did I forget to do this? Did I forget to do that? But I try to really keep stress low. And I mean, I was freaking out because I went over budget quite a bit, but I thought, you know what? Even worst case scenario. So you look at my $111,000 number. If you take $70,000 off that, I'm still at my 40 grand. So, you know, my expectations were pretty low. Sure, I get into a house, I'm like, hey, I can make 6 figures on one rehab. But if I make 40 grand on a rehab, that's a base hit for me. You know, you guys know I'm a buyer for Faster House. The rehabbing game, this is my side hustle. So if I can turn a side hustle 30, 40 grand in 4 months time, I think that's pretty great. So yeah, I tried to sleep as much as possible, but good question, Brian.
I ask because I know you fairly well, and you're always pretty calm, and I know you're a meditator and a mindset guy and stuff like that. I know some people have been freaking their ass off over this deal. So I think being even keel is you know, a gift of yours, I guess I would say. I got a couple really quick lightning round questions. I noticed you did put in a refrigerator. Typical for you, or I mean, you did everything other than a refrigerator. Just curious.
Yeah, I typically do not put fridges in rehabs. Maybe that's my real estate agent side. Fridges don't normally convey with a piece of real estate. So if you're representing a buyer, that seller's taking that fridge 95 times out of 100. So for me, I would rather, and fridges are so specific these days, you know, they've got the 4-panel ones, they've got the 2-panel ones, they've got the one up top, the one on bottom. So that's such a big decision. I'm like, you know, you can probably spend an extra couple grand to choose the fridge that you want. So yeah, that's why I didn't do it.
What did you do with the windows? I don't know if you said.
Windows stayed. Yep, I didn't.
Were they vinyl to begin with, or were they wood you painted?
They were vinyl. There was one wood window in the primary bedroom that I just painted. But other than that, they were all vinyl.
And did you say, did your house appraise? out, or what was the story with that?
It was an all cash deal, no appraisal. So
Gotcha.
didn't have to
Nice.
worry about it.
Awesome job, man. Very, very impressed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Was it Brandy? You have a question?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm new to the group, and I'm Fabian's wife, who is, I think he was on here, but then he left. Quick question. Could you give like 1 to 3 concrete examples? Because we're about to we're going to be closing on a deal next week, and we're about to embark on the rehab process. And this will be our biggest rehab to date. And just in our experience with the few properties that we have in our own properties, communication, as it is important in any relationship, is king, right? And so can you give some concrete examples of how you set clear expectations with your contractors, how you progress monitor, any like quick tips for us as we embark on this journey with our contractor coming up here in a few weeks?
Great question. So for me, walking through the job with the contractor up front, and then making sure that the bid that they're submitting has everything that you kind of talked about. The clear expectation is on payment. Is there a deposit? When do you expect to get paid? How soon after the work is done do you expect to get paid? What does that look like? Do you want to get paid in cash? Can I pay you with a check? These are all questions. You'll have some rehabbers that are like side gig guys and they just want to get paid in cash. And I'm like, well, I can't account for that. So unfortunately, that's not going to work. But setting expectations of when you're going to accomplish these things, what that looks like, and yeah, how. As far as communication goes, I have a project manager that manages my projects. So she deals with most of that and communication with them. And then on the job, my contractor who's still there, he's kind of monitoring progress, but his job isn't necessarily to monitor the progress of the other contractors. His job is to complete his work. So I would say for me, it's just getting really clear with those items. Anybody else? Suzanne, Brian?
Yeah, I agree. I think just like making sure it's very clear when they're going to get paid, like just talking about all of that stuff up front. If you're going to require lien waivers, paid receipts, like all of that, just addressing everything up front, and telling them what you're doing and then stick to that. I one time got hurt by a contractor because we agreed to one thing and then we did other stuff and then it was confusing and just not good. So just communicate clearly and check in frequently. Like I recommend walking every house that you're doing once a week at least, making sure progress is happening. So
And Brandy, are you coming to the club tomorrow night?
Yes, I'll be
Nick
there.
is going to be talking about that. You're going to get an hour of that tomorrow night. So come to the club tomorrow night.
All right, I'll see you guys there. Thanks for the tips. I appreciate it.
No problem.
all right. Any other questions for Casey before we wrap up?
Casey, what was your wall color? Sorry.
Wall color. Great question. Let me consult my yeah.
Just, I can make it more simple. I can make it simpler. Was it gray or was it white?
Gray.
Agreeable gray.
It was agreeable gray.
Lighter
Okay.
than agreeable gray. I was actually going to ask Casey that same question because it looks
Yeah,
lighter than agreeable, but not quite white, which I like.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback about gray and just things being too gray and too neutral, and I'm trying to poke around to see what to move into. And unfortunately, a lot of people are telling me white, and it's just not, I can't get with it. So I was just curious because a lot of those pictures looked really light, especially in the kitchen. So it was hard to tell if it was white paint or not in some locations.
Yeah, I think it was a step lighter than agreeable. I'll double check. I'll text you, Nick. And my last project in St. Charles that I think I did a case study on, we did white paint on that one. So I would say white is in. We did white paint and black doors, which was a bit of a change too.
That's a ballsy move. I've been wanting to do white everything with black base, black doors, black trim. But I'm unsure it's to like a lot of the other finishes with that, it's a little outside my comfort zone, so I haven't stepped into it yet. But that's one I really do want to do, is the white everything with the black trim.
Here,
I know Alabaster by Sherwin-Williams is a popular, like almost white color. I know Elvira uses that one, which is nice, and you can still
So
do
are
it
they doing
white.
the doors and trim, like when they do the all white, is it ceilings, walls, doors, trim, everything the same?
So a lot of people aren't doing like true white and like white everything. They're just doing a white kind of color on the walls. So like doing an alabaster or something like that, so you can see a little bit of distinction.
I'm gonna hijack for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
This was the one that I did white paint and black doors. So I still kept the white trim. I just did the black doors.
Is the white trim the same color as the white walls, or it looks slightly brighter?
It looks slightly brighter only because that's flat. The walls were textured a little bit, especially these front walls.
So even the
So
base trim and the wall, like right there in that picture, on the corner, that white trim and the wall is the same
yeah,
color.
it's all the same color. So in
Wow,
this
that's crazy
picture,
how it shows so differently just because of the different texture.
yeah, this does look a bit different from this angle, but then when you come at it from this angle, looking at the back wall, like,
Yeah, it almost disappears. Yeah.
yep, yep. So,
Ceiling same too, huh?
yep, and
Wow.
that was popcorn. So,
Wow, because I saw another guy say that that's what they were doing, but then in the pictures, just like your pictures, they looks different. I guess it's just the different shadowing from the ceiling to the wall to the texture of the trim.
yep,
But really, it looks very different in a lot of the angles of the pictures when the light hits it. So I appreciate that, 'cause that's good to know.
you bet.
That got to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, we have like 1 minute left. Any other last minute questions before we wrap up?
I have a question. This is Naresha Suzanne. Hey, Casey, thanks for sharing this information. It's looking great. I just finished a rehab. Basically, it's my rental property, and I did the rehab, and I'm planning to sell it now. I got like a few showings, and everybody likes the house, but when they enter the house, they're getting this kind of a small, like a strong smell from the basement. I think my previous tenant kept dogs in the basement. That's causing the issue, I guess. But we cleaned so good, but still we're getting that smell. Do you guys have any suggestions or anything that I can like contact someone to get rid of that, or any ideas? Guys can have
Do
it
you know where the pet's just in the basement, or were they also upstairs?
in the basement, because no pets were allowed during their tenure, but she kept it in the basement to
So in the basement, they got all the HVAC system and stuff like that. So, to get that smell out, a lot of the times we've had to clean the ducts, because sometimes it could kind of be like resting in the duct system, depending on how the dogs were down there. Other than that, oil-based paint. It's surprising that it's sticking in the basement. There's not a lot of porous in the basement other than, the concrete walls. But if you really can't get the smell out of the basement, oil-based primer will definitely take care of it. And other than that, I would worry that it's in the duct system, and maybe having those cleaned out, or even putting those
yeah
air fresheners that you can open the duct and kind of put those air fresheners in there. That might help your problem a lot too.
okay. Yeah, we did clean the air ducts. Like I do that every time whenever there is a new tenant or something, so
Mhm.
I'll make sure those are cleaned.
I would try an ozone machine as well. Sometimes those work really well.
Great. I just saw that this morning and I ordered online.
Good.
I'm getting it tomorrow. Hopefully that resolves the issue.
Yep. I would just turn it on and leave the house sit for a couple days and come back and see how it does.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining. Casey, thank you for coming on today and sharing your story. For For those of you who don't know, we have Buyers Club tomorrow. So Thursday, Nick is going to be talking. Nick is going to do a phenomenal job. If you have any questions about contractors, how to make sure contractors are doing what they're supposed to be doing, all that stuff, that's going to be the focus of tomorrow night. So I would love to see you all there. And then next week we'll have our call again. I think we're going to do another case study, not sure who yet. So just pay attention to those emails and stuff like that. But I hope to see you all tomorrow. Otherwise, next Wednesday on Zoom. So have a great rest of your week.
You guys,
Bye.
great job, Casey.
Thank you.
Yeah.